It's Friday, which means we have a full preview, round 2 of Kentucky and South Carolina. We're going to be joined by our weekly Friday guest, SEC Mike, and he talks to us about whether or not he thinks South Carolina should be on upset alert against Kentucky this weekend. Plus, we talk about a huge weekend in SEC football in general. Locked On Gamecocks starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler. Hope everyone's having a fantastic week. Start to your weekend. Hope everyone's having a safe one, a good one, and a fun one. We're having a good one. I got Allie in the background just taking pictures right now. She can definitely be seen. There she is. She's real. We just got a brand new 75-inch TV for the weekend. We're fired up about that. And we got a good show for you, too. Before we get started, I want to say, Pepper says hello. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to everyone making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Remember, we're a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward of Mazda. Move or be moved. All right, we have moved out into the living room area. A little bit different setup, a little bit more things in the background for once, so it's not just a plain white background. Some of you have messaged me about how much you dislike that. To the one gentleman who keeps saying, send me your address so I can send you something for the wall. Really appreciate how genuinely nice that is. But I'm not going to give out my address. Anyway, we have a great show for you today, and we should hopefully be talking about a win for the Gamecocks as well. Let's bring on our friend SEC Mike to get it started. I hear you, brother. Okay, just doing some dad jokes off here. We have two mics on the show now. I have my mic turned on. The seamless transition. Another mic is here as well. That's not funny.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, recording? Dude? How are you? Happy Friday.
Yeah, doing great, man. Epic weekend of Saturday action.
Dude, it's the biggest weekend I feel like of the year, right?
It is.
We're going to talk about all SEC stuff this weekend because there's a lot of it. But I want to start and talk about the South Carolina-Kentucky game. I've kind of broken down throughout the week and saying what I think the keys are. The line hasn't really moved. It's about 6.5. What's just like right off the bat, your initial perception of this game, how you're viewing it, reading it, all the above?
You better not lose it. And it doesn't even matter who I'm speaking to. Either side, I think that applies. You cannot lose this football game. Kentucky loses it. Good luck. They may win one or two more games. I think they play Tennessee Tech later. That may be the only one they win if they can't at least get some momentum here. And it's not as bleak for South Carolina, but it is bleak. If you lose this football game when you're talking about trying to reach the postseason, I think it's fair to say it's fair to question whether the Gamecocks will even make a bowl if they don't get this one. But if they get it, you can get some momentum, get hot for Cocktober, and go on a run here. But it's got to start on Saturday.
I agree. I think that the concern is because you keep talking about getting to the break. What's on the other side of that break for South Carolina is LSU on the road, Oklahoma at home, and I think Bama at home. So at least you get to be at home for two of those games. And I don't think those teams are unbeatable necessarily. But at the same time, like the biggest concern I have is like I kept saying after you lost to Mizzou, it's like, God, they just need to get to the bye week. And then you remember the bye week last year they came out of, they lost 27-3 to Ole Miss. So I think this is a must-win game. I was saying all week, it seems like a game where you turn on the TV like on Saturday and you sit there and think like, or like before the season, even looking at the schedule and looking at this weekend, it was like, okay, well, there's Bama, Georgia, there's Oregon, Penn State, there's A&M, Auburn, there's LSU, Ole Miss. I mean, it's an awesome weekend. This should be an afterthought. And now I think South Carolina fans are looking at this like, man, this went from being like a surefire win to a must-win pretty quickly.
Especially late night SEC network. These are always the drunkest games.
Yeah.
And I've got great news, breaking news for any Gamecock fan out there is unaware. None of these teams, even Kentucky, any of the teams you referenced coming up, none of them got Ahmad Hardy. So we're good, brother. You know what?
Well, I said that too. That's part of the concern is because you're talking about the guy who is Pepper's just running around the back. We're all fired up over here, man. This new TV, I cannot wait. But we're also talking about a situation where the guy who is first on the list, you played last week in terms of forced missed tackles. And then this week you're playing the guy who's fifth. And I think they might have both the guys are for Kentucky are top 10. And you're also in a situation where they've only played 3 games instead of 4. So how do you think this atmosphere is going to treat Cutter Boley? Kentucky coming in here with Zach Calzada, who's the worst quarterback in the league statistically so far, but you're going to be starting a redshirt freshman. That gives me so much more confidence for South Carolina, but it also worries me that you got a redshirt freshman on the road in his first SEC start, first road start. It's going to be at night, like you said. Those fans are going to be tailgating all day and ready to go. How do you think that's going to fare on Saturday?
Yeah, that's another one of the biggest edges I think the Carolina Gamecocks have in this one, because I do like Cutter Boley. What we have seen from him in limited action, I think he is an upgrade, as you kind of indicated there, over Zach Calzada. I don't know why he wasn't starting to begin with.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of talent, but he doesn't have great weapons. And going on the road, buddy, I put out a tweet this week after John Mateer went down and listed there's about 6 quarterbacks in this conference right now that have a win on the road as a starting quarterback in the SEC.
Wow.
Of course, Tennessee fans went in a damn uproar, but it's much easier said than done.
No, not Tennessee fans.
And all it was I was trying to give Oklahoma fans, because Michael Hawkins is one of those guys, believe it or not. It had nothing to do with Joey Aguilar, but again, the point being, it's very, very difficult to do, and very few have done it. So, do I really have confidence in Cutter Boley to join that list? No, I do not.
I think the biggest nightmare, because I look at this and it's like, all right, I think they're going to try to run the football. I don't think they're going to try and throw the football. But the concern is the most recent injury report. Gabriel Brinlow-Downdy is going to be active. It looks like. I think he's probable. This is probable. So he should be available. But you're going to be down 2 starters in the offensive line. I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible, because one of them is Casey Henry, and he's been your best offensive lineman statistically and through the PFF grades and all the other metrics that I don't really understand how they come up with. But it's also pretty obvious to the eye that he's been the least of the concerns. Being down 2 starters on the O-line doesn't faze me a bunch. Am I crazy for that?
Are you saying they've been so bad they don't even need the starter?
Just put Nyck Harbor at right tackle. No, I think that they have been so bad, but it's like I think that maybe you figure out something else. And I'll tell you what, here's a better way to phrase it, Mike, because those guys were the starters obviously for a reason. But I will also say, them being down 2 starters, I know damn well that at the end of the weekend, if they lose this game, which I don't expect them to, but if they lose it, you're not going to sit here and say, well, it's because we were down 2 starters in the offensive line. What might have been? Because that's been a weak point for you as a unit, no matter what game you're in and who you've thrown out there.
Yeah. No, I guess there's some logic in that. That's the ultimate silver lining, I guess you would say. But I don't know about you. I would love to have some starters in a game that is going to decide potentially whether this season's a success or not. I think you're kind of overlooking the impact of that potentially.
Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. I overlook a lot of stuff. No, I mean, I don't think you're wrong.
Just throw Luke Doty out there.
Put Luke Doty at right tackle or right guard. It's the only
position he hasn't played.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I probably am downplaying a little bit. And I can tell you first, for sure, I think I might be overlooking Kentucky to an extent. The Vegas line on this thing is 6.5. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about just some of the players that you think should break out. I got a couple that I want to ask you about for South Carolina. And then also just what you think their game plan should be going into this. Because I know I've given my opinion on it. You're a smarter mind than me with most. You color inside the lines really well. I don't, right? Every time we've gotten together and gotten a few beers and some coloring books, you're a lot better at than I am. So let's take a quick break. We're going to talk about our friends at Mazda real quick. I'm going to take you out of this for a second because I'm really bad at reading. This specifically is not my best ad read. But here you go, guys. This episode brought to you by Mazda, and Mazda is moving the game forward. You guys have heard me talk about Mazda a lot this week. You're going to hear me talk about them again. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, that's why Mazda is trying to redefine it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward. I brought this up yesterday. I love the 3rd and 37. But how about just Vandrevius Jacobs in the entire game, 7 catches, 128 yards. He was incredible for South Carolina in what was a lot of dark spots and frustrating moments against Missouri. He was a bright spot for sure, and hopefully he will continue to do that this weekend. In moments that define the game, even if your team is proving to be not as great as we thought the season was going to go to start, we can turn things around because Mazda moves forward, and so can you. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. When we come back, I'm going to move off the screen and bring Mike back on and talk more about this game against Kentucky on Saturday. Locked On Gamecocks continues next. All right, we're back. Mike, I have looked at this game through the lens of a couple of ways, I think. But I think it comes down to putting the ball in LaNorris Sellers' hands and really making him go out there and winning you a football game. And what I mean by that more than anything is that sounds very cliche and obvious, even though it hasn't been something that this coaching staff has done necessarily so far. But putting him more involved in the run game, figuring out ways to get him on the edge, probably running more stuff that is on the edge in the run game and not between the tackles. And then more than anything, throwing the ball. If you have to throw the ball 30 to 35 times in this game to win it, I think you're going to see South Carolina try to do just that. There's been things in the offense that they've been able to dial up, and they have been open if they had time to get it to the receiver or the play to develop. When you look at this game, you tell me what you think the biggest key is for each side, but especially South Carolina, and what's one thing maybe we're overlooking in the storyline here and how this game will be won.
I think if you get down to the red zone, you got to cash it in. I couldn't believe this, Chris. I was looking at some of the statistics. South Carolina has had 8 red zone trips this season. Now, for reference, like Tennessee, I know they're much more potent, but they've had 24. That's 3 times as many red zone trips. And of the 8 that Carolina has had, they've only scored a touchdown 3 times. I mean, this is pitiful. And again, are they going to just flip a switch and get down to the red zone 7 times on Saturday? Probably not. But if you get down there 3 or 4 times, you got to cash it in because points are going to be at a premium. You get held to field goals, you're going to lose this game. You really will. And for reference,
that's 130th in the country, by the way, Mike.
Yeah, and I think Kentucky, it's like we don't look at Kentucky. We just talked about Calzada, how awful he's been, and now they got a freshman in there. They've had 14 red zone trips, and they've had a bye. So they have one less game than Carolina, yet they've nearly doubled Carolina's trips to the red zone. So where's Mazio Bennett been? 7 targets. Jared Brown's got 3 targets on the season. These are guys I thought would be breakout stars potentially for the Gamecocks this year. We got to get some of these other receivers outside of Nyck Harbor going. I think all that will be critical to this game.
And I tell you what, I am fine. Like, I want Mazio Bennett to flourish and be the receiver that we think that he can be. And I want Jared Brown, especially as a former Parkview Panther myself. They got Brookwood this weekend. Huge, what do you call it? Huge rivalry game there in Lilburn. Yeah. Shout out to all the former Region 8, 5A listeners, all that kind of stuff in Georgia. No, I think that I want those guys to play well as well. But I also, more than anything, just want someone to step at that position. So it's not just a screw it, Harbor's down there somewhere, let's throw it up to him. Like there were times last week, I think Bennett was the one that had the drop at like the 3-yard line on the throw where it was like broken coverage and he was open. LaNorris is just like, facing a lot of pressure coming right at him. But we saw Jacob step up. We've seen Harbor step up. I'm fine with whatever the name on the back of the jersey is that's catching the ball, as long as the name on the front is crossing the goal line at some point, because it's just, you're right. The struggle's been bad. That was pretty good, right? That's pretty good coach speak. You brought up the red zone conversions. I brought this up yesterday. The third down conversions, you've had 47 total third downs this year. 20 of them, so 43%, 20 have been for 3rd and 10 or longer.
That's good.
Tough, man. No.
This is, we're talking this is like Florida bad right now under old Billy Napier. You know what?
It's not as bad. it's worse, which is like tough to do. I think you and I were texting about this last week. It was like, I think it was you and I, where it was like the third and long, and it was like they were 3rd and 11 or something, and there was some stat where however many third downs that were 11 yards or longer, and that the game against Vandy, it was 3rd and 11. Their third down average yard to game was like 11.1, and it's just like that kind of stuff just does not help any of the situations defensively. What do you think this team needs to do, or going back to the offense, because we talk about the passing game? It almost feels like we're just throwing out even the possibility of this run game getting going.
Mm-hmm. Well, are you asking me defensively or offensively? You kind of threw it both out there.
All the above, Mike.
I mean, again,
defensively, how does South Carolina run the football, brother?
I mean, we already mentioned they don't have Ahmad Hardy, but they do have 2 really good running backs in McGowan and Dowdell. So what Kentucky has done is invested in the offensive line and at running back in NIL, and they just said, to hell with the rest of the positions.
Yeah.
They don't have, their best receivers are tight ends, and neither one of them are particularly dynamic. So, I mean, I think you got to sell out to stop the run, and easier said than done given the performance last week. But again, it was that more arguably the best running back in the country, who I predicted this offseason. You can go look this up. I said Ahmad Hardy is going to lead the SEC in rushing, and that was back when I don't think anybody knew who the heck he was. So
I said the same thing. I just said it in a much less audience. Well, mainly, I think you and I agreed on this at media days because of just the sheer, like, you just look at the track record of Eli Drinkwitz at Mizzou. Like, they've had a top 4 back. And you were spot on. You nailed it.
Yeah, I usually do. So, again, they don't have that guy, but they do have McGowan. I really like him. He's a completely different style, and I've heard him described as he's running like he hates the ground. I mean, he's a punishing, nasty runner. So, talk about breaking tackles.
Yeah.
He is going to be very, very difficult to get to the ground. You get him to the ground, you win this game if you're the Gamecocks.
Okay, I like that. All right, we're going to take a quick break, pay some bills. When we come back, we're going to go through this game with this prediction and then also through the SEC. Give me one bold prediction, and we'll be right back. Do you want to stay in for the ad read? Don't make any faces. This is actually my favorite ad read each and every week, and it is with our friends at DoorDash. And it's almost the weekend. It's Friday. We're recording this about 3:30 Central Time, so 4:30 Eastern Time. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks. Saving more money every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. This week's DoorDash. You know what? I'll let you, Mike. I'll let you tell me who the DoorDash player of the week was for South Carolina last week.
The punter.
Okay. That's good. Mason Love, you are the DoorDash winner of this week. Listen, just like Mason Love delivered for South Carolina, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season long. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period ends on November 18th. Let's go over.
I love DoorDash. You see what I did?
It's awesome. It is like I think this is like one of the best ideas I've seen people come up with. Like, just because you're going to order food anyway on Saturday, nobody wants to leave the house.
Right.
Also, here's one that's very near and dear to my heart because I take about 3 of these before every episode.
Viagra?
5-hour energy. I get about 15 hours of energy in my body before we start recording. So it's good. Listen, 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Watermelon's personally my favorite, but each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee. Didn't know that. Probably shouldn't have 3. Plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. I tell you what I love most about them is how portable they are. And going back to that last sentence, 0 crashes. Big taste, tiny shots. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it most. Go online right now and search for any of the 17 flavors they have. Personally, I love the watermelon. Like I said, Tropical Burst is another that's fantastic. Even so, or enough without the boring, flavorless caffeine. Okay, even if you take 2, 3, I wouldn't take more than that. Get 1 maybe. But get tired of the flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with a 5-hour energy shot. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com. or Amazon today.
I've heard that was your high school nickname, Tropical Burst.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, brother. Yeah. Just a 3-star baseball recruit, Tropical Burst, Chris Marler. You know what? Let's just hold on. We got to make sure we put this in. That's for the production side, Mike. You wouldn't get it. Let's predict this weekend, man. It's a great weekend of football. What game are you looking forward to most?
All of them.
Okay, that helps.
Maybe Auburn A&M is probably right up there for me. Probably.
Why is that?
Well, because I think A&M they can kind of shed the 8-4 label if they can get this win, start 4-0, and I think Auburn can kind of start careening down a hill into eventually a fiery burst of flames. But we can flip it. If A&M loses, I think, well, are they still 8-4, and maybe Auburn's a legit team, and they just, the refs really screwed them at Oklahoma. I mean, I don't know which one's the truth, but we're going to find out on Saturday.
Who do you have winning that game?
I like A&M.
Yeah, I do too. I think it'll be close, though. I do. I think it'll be a close game. Like, the only thing that concerns me is and this is probably just from what we've seen on social media. We're not in the four walls at Auburn in that locker room, but like,
I am.
It doesn't feel like they really. I watch them sleep, but I don't think we're really in a situation where they feel like they've gotten over it. It feels like they are still talking about last week a lot, and that has got to be a concern. All right,
and
going through this.
Where's Jackson Arnold's confidence after getting annihilated once again? I mean, I feel so bad for him. I mean, that's his entire career is running for his life or getting destroyed.
He was behind an offensive line last year. They gave up 50 sacks, and they gave up a 20% of those in one game this weekend. I mean, that is not great. He's probably been sacked like 4 times just during this actual broadcast here. Okay. Here's a game we're not talking a ton about, which tells me how big the slate is. Mississippi State hosting Tennessee. I feel like that's a really underrated game.
Oh, do you? I bet you do. Well, I'll tell you, it's not going to be. I mean, I had you on my show. You were laughing about this.
I mean, it weirds me out that the line is 7.5. Mm-hmm. I don't love that because I thought this was like, listen, I've got Tennessee scoring first. That's my first bet. I got Tennessee winning the first half in covering 3 points. And then I've got them covering 6.5. I'll buy the point and with our friends at FanDuel and then just do that like a big old baby. But I mean, I don't see this being close. I'm confused as to why we think it will be.
Well, the only thing that I could gather is I think Mississippi State will have a lot of success against Tennessee's pass defense.
Yeah.
They're really not that good. And I think, the takeaway from the Georgia game is like, wow, Gunner and this offense, they're so dynamic. I think we might be looking next week being like, wow, there's a real problem with Tennessee's secondary.
Okay.
I mean, UAB's having success on them. Syracuse had success on them. I think they're awful in the secondary. So Mississippi State will pile up some yards, maybe get that backdoor cover, but I don't really think this is going to be that competitive of a game.
Do you think that part of that is because they're missing McCoy and then Ricky, what's his name?
Ricky Gibson.
Ricky Gibson, the third.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge part of it. Any one of these teams, you take their top 2 corners, where are they at? And Tennessee's got this guy named Ty Redmond who looked really good the first couple of weeks. He's a true freshman. He was a 3-star out of Georgia. Yeah. And Georgia, I'm sure they knew all about him. I don't think they even offered him. And they just picked on him the whole game and just there was nothing he could do about it.
Let's see, where do we want to go from here? Because there's a couple other ones. I know we talked about the how about the other one at around the same time slot there? LSU traveling to Oxford for Ole Miss. Who do you got in that one?
Give me Ole Miss. I think LSU should win it, but I think Ole Miss will win it. There's always some shenanigans. There's always some deception with old Lane Kiffin. He may even be involving his daughter in some of this. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't put past that guy to do anything.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah. So again, I think they'll scheme up a way. He's been kind of talking trash. I think he's been guarded about it, but he has been talking trash about Brian Kelly and his coaching staff. I think this game really will come down to obviously the Ole Miss offense versus the LSU defense. And I think Kiffin's a lot better play caller than Blake Baker, even though Blake Baker's done a really good job up to this point. So give me Ole Miss, but this is a true coin toss. I think it's going to be very, very, very close.
I'm interested in this one for a number of reasons. I think the Kiffin, for those of you that don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't at this point, but LSU star linebacker Whit Weeks is dating Lane Kiffin's daughter, Landry Kiffin, which is just crazy to me. Okay.
And they hard launched this week. I learned that term I'd never heard that in my life till this week.
Oh, okay. I think you never heard hard launched?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't run in those circles with you, Tropical Burst.
Yeah. All right, let's go to one more here before we get into the South Carolina Kentucky prediction. Do you have a feeling on Oregon Penn State at all? It's a big game. It's not in the SEC, but do you care?
I couldn't name two players on either team.
Marcus Mariota and LeVar Arrington. Showdown.
I run an SEC show. I don't care about the Little 10.
I love it. Bama and Georgia.
I thought you were going to go UMass, Missouri, but okay, Bama, Georgia, that makes a little bit more sense. Man, again, going back to what I said, I kind of teased it, right? Is Georgia awesome on offense, or was Tennessee just maybe there's a huge liability there? So I think Gunner might be slightly overrated. I don't want to take away from his clutch performance because that was incredible.
Yeah.
He should be applauded for his performance on Rocky Top, doing that on the road. But I think Alabama, the last couple weeks, I think that's the real Alabama.
Yeah.
Not the first week. I don't know what the heck happened there, but give me big game DeBoring. I think he's got another big one in him. I think Alabama goes down to Athens and gets the outright win.
I mean, that game being on the road for Alabama has got to be a concern because they have lost 5 games under DeBoer. All 5 have been away from home.
Doesn't even matter.
I hate to only talk about the Vegas side of this, but they didn't build those giant billion-dollar hotels in the middle of the desert out of nothing, and that is shocking. You're talking about a team that's lost 1 game at home against South Carolina in 2019, and like that, not to take away from that win for South Carolina, but that was a game where Georgia was like top 5 in the country, and they had 4 turnovers, 2 missed field goals, and they lost in double overtime. That's their only loss in 8 years at home, and they're playing a team that I think is physically distant behind them with Alabama. Let's get into the main event here. You give me one bold prediction and then give me the score prediction as well. I'll start so you can think about yours. South Carolina and Kentucky this week. I think this is a closer game to start than people think, but I think that South Carolina needs this win desperately, and I just don't see them being able to keep up with Kentucky, or Kentucky being able to keep up offensively. I think I said 28-17 yesterday. I'm going to stick with that. That's about where I feel like, or 27-17. Maybe they'll struggle in the red zone on a couple trips and have to kick a field goal, but I think that they get started early and they find a way to win finally this weekend. Bold prediction, I think you're going to see a breakout from another receiver. I think it's going to be Rowe. I think you're going to see a young receiver step up and have a big game. They got him involved a little bit in some plays last week against Mizzou. I think he has a big week this week.
Mm-hmm. All right, how about this? A Gamecock has a 100-yard rushing performance.
No chance.
And it's probably LaNorris Sellers.
That's fair.
Hey, give me, man, I don't know what the score I had. I think 28-20. Give me the Gamecocks 28-20.
That feels like I feel like that is going to be the score. But I said that last week for Mizzou and South Carolina. I don't want to reuse it. That's a good pick, Mike. I like that.
I mean, all I do is give out winners.
That's true. I love it. Love the attitude. I'm sorry we had to go a little bit late today. Tell them where they can find you, and we'll do it again next Friday, man.
Yeah, the show's That SEC Podcast, #1 SEC show on Apple or Spotify, and we're doing pretty well on YouTube too. So go check us out.
Awesome, dude. I appreciate it. We'll see you next week.